Hi friends, I'm Tarek Brown, President and CEO of CICOA Aging and In-Home Solutions. Our homes have been a sanctuary for us the past year, but like the earth, we are all ready for some renewal. Spring has sprung, and thankful things are opening back up. So for our final cabin fever cure, we want to inspire you to get outside, enjoy the sunshine, and make your corner of the world more beautiful and bountiful through gardening. Our guest presenter this month is Ryan Denhart, owner of Country Harmony Home and Garden Center in Brownsburg, Indiana. Country Harmony is a hidden jewel on Indy's west side, offering a full range of home and seasonal decor in addition to its traditional landscaping and nursery offerings. Whether you are young or old, live in an apartment or a house, everyone can enjoy the pleasures of container gardening. In our first segment, Ryan will offer some tips to create stunning flower pots that will last all season long. Then in our second segment, he'll come back and share some tips and tricks for beginners to get started growing vegetables in pots. All you need is a patio, balcony, or a sunny window. Let's get started with our final cabin fever cure. Welcome, Ryan Denhart.
Hi, my name is Ryan Denhart. I'm with Country Harmony of Brownsburg, Indiana. Today we're going to learn about container gardening. I'm going to start out with a spring flower combo for you. I've already kind of pre-done my pot. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I filled it about 3/4 of the way full with a all-purpose potting soil blend. I also put shards on the very bottom to cover the holes. So if you have broken clay pots, do not throw them away. Crunch them up more, put them down in the bottom. That keeps your dirt in for the rest of the season. Then you put your dirt layer on top of that. Make sure that when you're doing the soil, you want it to be extremely lightweight soil. This happens to be a Pro Mix living soil organic blend that I'm using with living mycorrhizae in it, which is beneficial to root systems and nutrient grabbing of plants when you fertilize. So we'll start off. When you start off your selections, make sure that you know sun exposure, shade, sun, or if you get sun partial day, if it's 11 to 1, 2 to 4, you need to know that sun exposure. That will increase your plant selection greatly or limit it in any way. Any of your professionals can help guide you to what works in these conditions, but you do need to know that before you start. And anybody can guide you. When you're doing a container, you always want to start with the height kick in the middle. And then you kind of work out mid-height and then trails towards the edge, so it becomes a pattern. A lot of times I like to see a tall in the center, followed by a triangle of 3 and a triangle of 3. That'll kind of, and we'll go as we're doing this on the visual, I'll kind of show you how that goes. But some people call them thrillers, fillers, and spillers is another way to look at that. We're gonna do an early spring combo here. These usually last a while. Some of this stuff that's gonna go in here and I'll tell you will last a while. I'm gonna start with tulips in the center. What's nice about these, when they're done blooming, you just go in and clip that bud off right there. Keep that foliage on. It's still the center of your container until you switch it out for your summer mode flowers. Then the nice trick about this, when you're going to redo this for summertime, you can actually take, because this is bulbs down in here, you can take those and plant those in your yard and they'll come back year to year to year. So kind of a twofer for you. When you undo your plant out of your pot, you want to loosen your roots just a little bit. That lets them breathe, lets the grab start going. And we're gonna kind of put 3 of these towards the center right here. So bear with me just a minute while I'm grabbing plants, but. You don't wanna skimp out on, you're not gonna get it overly thick because this is a spring container that you're gonna actually switch out later. So don't be afraid to fill this. You want it to almost look instantly beauty and pretty right off the bat, just because you want it to just grow immediately and enjoy it while the season's there. And then you can switch out centers, fillers, whatever later on. So we've kind of got our tulips aimed right there towards the center and they're in now. Now we're gonna go with our mid layer. And you always wanna work center out because You don't want to start with the edges and work your way in the middle, or you never get your stuff into the middle, and you need to be able to add that soil in around these things as we're going. And right off the bat right now, I got to put a little more in. Once you get that center layer, just put a couple scoops in that you can work around with your hands. You're kind of going to go around and fill right in there around those plants right off the bat. I'm ready to come in. This is called a Nemesia right here. This is kind of my mid-height layers. We're going to kind of go in here in a triangle formation. This plant, a little short on the front, tall to the back. You want to aim that height towards that center. So visually, when you're looking at it, the flowers are already going to this way. It will continue to grow and fill out this way. So don't be alarmed that it's maybe a little taller in there. I actually have 3 of these, so. So again, kind of triangle formation there. Again, that one's a little short on the one side, so that's good. Aim that to the back, fill in with just a little bit of soil there to make sure that's level there. And you can straighten and adjust as you go. Actually, when you get your other plants in there too, it'll kind of straighten up itself as well as you get it crammed. So you already see that center layer going right there. Adjust that just a little. Nemesia is your mid. This also trails a bit, so you're gonna get it through. Then we're gonna put a cool wave pansy in these. If you've never seen these before, newer to the market for a pansy. So these guys right here come out, up, and trail. So you get all worlds out of this guy. So we're gonna come in between these Nemesias right here and stick those guys in, and triangle formation again. Again, working in 3s here. We're gonna pop that one in, and we got one more. You can also go along and clean. I hadn't deadheaded that one yet, but you can also, clean up your plants as you're going on those old blooms, get them off of there. That just helps you in the long run. So you can see again, that triangle formation going right there. 3, center, 3, triangle, 3. Now we're gonna come in with our spillers. This happens to be Goldilocks Lysimachia, or AKA Creeping Jenny. We're gonna go in the last remaining gaps. I've got 3 gaps here to fill, and these are gonna completely just trail. So we're gonna go in, put those puppies in there. Going in the gaps, and again, just take your hand, bend that plant down. Again, you want it to be thick right off the bat so it just immediately grows. You don't have time to waste around on early spring containers with the growing season, because it's kind of short before you're switching them out. And then we're gonna come back in, and you slightly lift your plants up on the edges and fill in the dirt around. You don't want to go all the way to the top. You want to leave about that much room down on that lip. So when we're done, we're going to water this in real good. It's going to set the dirt level, but as you're watering through the summertime and late spring here before you switch it out, that holds that water in there versus you watering and it runs over the side of your container right off the bat. You don't want that to happen. Just finish off filling in that dirt right there and make sure the pockets, and you can kind of tamp down. Then you can kind of come back at the very last minute and kind of fold out, pick that one off. That way, right off the bat, that's ready to go now. So I do recommend a starter fertilizer. This potting soil actually is that living soil. So it's already got some component to it. However, you do want to fertilize these guys about once a week. You can do an organic-based fertilizer, a Miracle-Gro fertilizer, Schultz, Monty's, whatever fertilizer you prefer. But it's a once-a-week general fertilizer when you're doing that water. You do want to check about every 2 to 3 days on something this size if it's not raining or if it's been real hot like it has been lately the past few days. You do want to, check on your watering. Luckily, this one will tell you, because this Nemesia and these cool waves right here, they would start wilting. You don't want it to quite get to that point, so keep on top of that. And then the fertilizer once a week and you're good. And then that'll continue to grow out here. What's nice come, mid, late May, these are all tired. Again, deadhead those off, foliage, plant those out in your yard. Nemesia will actually carry through summer. So will the Lysimachia right there. So you don't have to replace the whole entire container. You can actually just pull the center out, pull the cool wave pansies out, and then you just pop in your summer annuals. You would only have to buy 3 there and a center, and the center could be different. You could put a single in at that point and use a larger scale plant, like such as a Suncoleus, a Salvia, a spike. If you like the spikes in the center, that would be something. And then that is how you do your spring containers.
Thank you, Ryan, for showing us how to grow beautiful flowers all season long. If you are enjoying this presentation, we hope you'll share it with friends and family. We're also asking that you help us spread the word about CICOA Aging and In-Home Solutions. CICOA is a not-for-profit in Central Indiana that empowers older adults and people of any age with intellectual, developmental, or medical disabilities to remain comfortably and safely at home and out of institutional care. If you have questions about long-term services and support for yourself or a loved one, please call our Aging and Disability Resource Center at 317-803-6131 or visit CICOA.org. We also invite those with green thumbs to make them greener still by making a donation to support services for seniors and people with disabilities. Just click on the link provided. You can also find notes from today's presentation there. Now back to Ryan, who will show us how to use containers to create an herb and vegetable garden.
We are going to do a veggie garden early spring lettuce container. This is a newer trend, again, for people living in condos and apartments, places like that where you have balconies and decks again. That does not mitigate you from using veggies that you can actually harvest. This one's gonna happen to be a lettuce bowl mixed with some green onion and a surprise trek pansy for a little bit of color, but those are actually edible. We're gonna start right off again. I've already prepped my soil. I put the shards in the bottom. I'm using an organic vegetable mix again. This is important. We're actually gonna use a shallower bowl for the lettuce, and the green onions have a very shallow root system to them. So a shallow container works great for this application. When it gets all planted, what's nice and growing, you just go and harvest the leaves for your salad, leave the centers on, and they'll continue to grow for the next 2 to 3 months before lettuce gives out in the middle of summer and gets kind of bitter tasting. It doesn't like the heat of summer, but that doesn't mean that you can't change this out to something else later after you've enjoyed a few salads. If you're planting other vegetables, however, I will say size is important on the container. Peppers, tomato plants especially, we see people trying to come in, planting tomatoes in this size of container. That's a big no-no. You want to use a 5-gallon bucket for a tomato plant at a bare minimum. You want to be able to get a tomato cage stuck in there. They need that support. They need the root room. If you get it in too small of a container, you're going to be watering constantly, promote disease, and you're not going to get the fruit production that you want, unfortunately. So important container sizing as to what plants you're doing. Also, tomatoes, peppers prefer to be planted singly in containers, not with multiples. So again, this is an early spring one that we're gonna do. Let's start off with a bunching onion right here for the center. You can get creative with these too. Put your little height kick, put your little whatever you need to do to make it look happy and pleasing to the eye. It doesn't have to just be boring vegetables all the same in a pot. You can make them look fun other than tomatoes and peppers. So we're gonna aim that right for the center. This guy is gonna continue to grow. Green onions, as most of you know, you can just kind of go out and there's multiple starts in this. So when you're going to clip, just take a few at a time or take them randomly as you're harvesting. It will continue to grow as long as you are above the node right here on your clip. That way you have a sustainable harvest through the season with the green onion from the center of this. I'm gonna kind of use a blend of lettuces here. And pay attention to the sizes. This is a romaine, and we're gonna put 3 different varieties in this container. Romaine happens to be a taller scale, so we wanna aim this a little more towards the center of the pot. We're gonna come in and we're gonna do a ring right around. We're just gonna space this evenly. This happens to be a 4-pack. I'm gonna actually put all 4 in here, because like I said, you're gonna be harvesting pretty quickly, so the more the merrier in this one. We're gonna come around and we're just gonna ring those, so kind of squared off right there. If your plants happen to be root bound, break the ends of them up. These happen to not be, and they're pretty set, and I don't want to disturb that too much, so I'm not gonna do that one at all. And we kind of just did a 4 around. My next height of lettuce is a butter crunch lettuce. They're kind of more of a mid lettuce, kind of a little bit heady, but a loose head lettuce. And we're gonna go right between and aim these guys kind of towards the edge of that container. And we're just gonna go kind of between in a pattern. You can kind of see me alternating right there. You've got the 4, and then I'm coming between that square with another square, basically. This is gonna be a square pattern. I'm gonna do all 4 sides. Bear with me, these packs are a little tasky to work with. I'm just gonna do those 4 right there. I'm gonna come in with a little more soil right now, because I gotta get a little more built up in the centers here. A little root action in that one. So as we're doing these layers, make sure that the centers kind of get done as you're working your way to the edges, but I'm gonna come in and knock some of this dirt around and get these leveled out real nicely so they're a little bit firm in there. You can kind of tamp down a little bit to get them set. So we got 2 varieties in already, and here comes our 3rd. This is iceberg lettuce right here. This is a nice, roughly delicious lettuce. And what's nice, we got 3 flavors going on in here, and they mix all well together. So you can have, or if you just want romaine, you go harvest the romaine. We're gonna go on the edge again, but we're gonna go between the butter crunch that we did the last time. And we're gonna stay on the edge. There's a reason for that in a minute. So again, we're just going between and a square pattern again, but towards the edge. So that you see how this is kind of making a ring at the outer edge, square, center. So lettuce is all in. We've got 3 varieties going there. We've got the romaine here, the iceberg, and the butter crunch. Square patterning right there on that, and that ends up being a ring when you're working in that pattern. We're actually gonna make this a little fun for spring. Who says you have to have all greenery in a pot? These are pansies right here, spring flower. However, this is edible. Put it in your salad, it makes your salad pretty, but it's actually got a nice peppery taste to it, surprisingly. And we're gonna come in and fill in between this romaine with a few of these, and it gives you just a little pop of color that sparks and wakes up that green right there, which is awesome. If I can get this out of here. We're gonna come in and we're gonna go kind of in that mid row between the other lettuce and the romaine right there. Again, kind of square pattern. Don't put too many these in there. You just want enough to give you a pop of color. Because these will continue to grow and bush out. And by the time this gets growing, it's gonna be very thick. You won't even see the soil at all. It's gonna mound out, come out. But that's why I used a shallower container. You don't really want to do a lot of spill in your shallow containers. Otherwise it'll go all over your deck, patio, whatever you're putting this. So we're kind of just gonna mound out here as this gets growing, and it's gonna come out the edges. So you really won't see this pot in the long run, except for the very, very, very bottom of it. So I'm gonna finish with the 4th one right here. I don't think I'm gonna try to fit any more in there. I want the lettuce to breathe a little bit and have the room to grow, because that's what I'm really after in the long run here, is the harvest from this guy. But it doesn't have to be boring with no color as well. So just come back in again and fill in your soil between these plants. Don't worry if you get a little bit on your plant, it's not gonna hurt it, because when you water it in, it'll knock it right off there. The rain will take care of it as well. Just make sure you're not burying the root system. You really want it right there at the very tip top. So don't get it too deep or you'll rot your plant off, and that's the last thing you want to do. Then you have rotten lettuce. And fill this out. That's pretty there. Just fluff it out a little bit. And like I said, these will continue to grow. Your romaine's gonna get, about this tall, your green onion about this tall. You have this nice mid-deck with these little flowers poking right through this container. So this one ended up green onion center, romaine square. And then we've got kind of a ring alternating butter crunch and iceberg lettuce, and then some pansies for some color. And don't forget to pluck those off and throw them in your salad and eat them. They're pretty peppery and good. And that's your veggie garden.
Thank you, Ryan, for inspiring us to get outside and get started with container gardening. For all of us at CICOA, I'd like to also thank our green-thumbed donors and friends for making this world more beautiful and bountiful for others. Let's continue spreading the love and making 2021 brighter and better.